I just want to do God's will.
The kind of revolution that the world needs is a Christian revolution.
If you want a miracle, you've got to expect it to happen.
You are the recipients of God's grace and God's blessings, and you rejoice in that reality.
Hey everybody, I'm Jordan Murphy. Welcome back to Life Today Live. Today I was kind of reminiscing of my first week when I started here at Life Today. And I was connecting with my boss and we were becoming so close, like friends. She was such a mentor to me already. And she had convicted me of something and said, Jordan, I want you to speak life over yourself. And it kind of caught me off guard. What are you talking about? I did not realize how much I had just been grumbling. I mean, she'd ask me how I was doing and I would just let all the things out, but there was never really an ounce of gratitude, or I was speaking things over my situation that weren't even true. I was just speaking out of fear and insecurity, and she just stilled my heart and spoke to me so lovingly and said, I just want you to speak life over yourself. Come to me with all the things, but also there is power in the tongue. And so it brings me back to Proverbs, and it's something that, it's one of those things that I think of absolutely every single day. Am I speaking life over myself? There's power of life and death in the tongue, and the words that we choose to say are so powerful. And so it's when the author for today, Kate Strickler, came up with her book, I Just Wish That I Had a Bigger Kitchen, I immediately related, because there are so many lies that we think and we believe that we think will make us happy, and these slowly just chip away at our joy. And today, I truly believe that the Lord wants your joy to be restored. So I'm excited to welcome Kate on the program. We're going to restore some joy today. Kate, how are you feeling?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Doing well. Doing
Awesome.
great.
Well, I just love this topic. We were talking a little bit before this of how I just feel like this is such a divine appointment. I was rereading through some of the chapters of this book. We talk about friendships and marriage and home life. Where did this book start for you?
It's funny. It started like years ago. The book writing process is so long. So it's funny. Even one of my kids is reading it and he was like, I'm 8 in this book and he's now 10. So it's like, yeah, I know it's just a long process. But it really started, I think, when I would share things online, like it wouldn't be every day, but anytime I would randomly share something that was hard for me, I would be flooded with messages of people being like, gosh, thank you for saying that. I feel similarly. Like, I didn't know anybody else felt that way, or just thanks for making me feel less alone. And I started to realize that the areas that I was struggling with, thousands of people were struggling with too. And it just wasn't showing up very often online. And so when you would speak it out, it would kind of take a lot of the power away, because people would realize, like, I'm not the only one.
Yeah, absolutely. Was there somebody in your life at the time that you were able to share with other than online that kind of was in your little circle?
Yes, I have a close group of my college best friends, and we talk kind of every day.
That's
Either
awesome.
like text message. We use the Marco Polo app, which is like a video chat app. But they're kind of it's like the safest place. You could say the worst.
Yes.
And it's just, and it's like everybody knows everything. So if someone's in a big high, you've also seen their lows. So you like really celebrate the highs. And I don't know, I feel like we've been through a lot together.
Wow,
That's my place.
That is absolutely awesome. So you guys met in college. You've been able to see absolutely everything about each other. And so I'm sure that's also really helpful too, of when you're in one of those low seasons, to remind them like, hey, this is not forever. Or whenever we're in those moments of comparison, right? Of I just wish I had a bigger kitchen, or whatever lies we're believing, to be able to like reinstill that truth and that goodness. You talk about this online platform that you have. You are the founder of Naptime Kitchen. Where did that all start for you? Share a little bit about that with us.
Yes. So it started 10 years ago, like almost 10 years ago at this point. My first child was born and I was just kind of bored. And Instagram it wasn't new, but it wasn't old either. It was like if you remember the old days of Instagram, it was like you put up one photo, you put a filter on it, you put a little caption.
Oh yeah.
And so I was cooking a lot because my baby took 2 naps a day, and you're kind of like stuck at home if your baby's napping. And so I would cook, post a picture of whatever I was cooking, and just throw a filter on it. And I was like, oh, I kind of want to make a different Instagram for this. And so I was like, why don't I call it Nap Time Kitchen? Because it's like while the baby sleeps, I cook. So it was like nap time in the kitchen. And that was, yeah, so that was almost 10 years ago. And it just has kind of slowly grown from there.
Wow.
And now it covers a lot more. It's funny how you're like making elaborate meals when you have this one child, and now I have four, and I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What is for dinner?
Yes. Do you ever look back and you're like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I was doing all of that? Do you have a specific recipe that's like your go-to for the day-to-day now with your four kiddos?
We have a few. I feel like we've gotten into some good rhythms. It's very hard. Oh, I have very competing palates amongst my children. Like one doesn't like meat very much. The other one doesn't like pasta. So it's like spaghetti and meatballs are kind of a win because one loves meatballs, one loves spaghetti. There's a lot of things that it's kind of like, how can I deconstruct this so that everyone can have something? And so, like I was saying, spaghetti and meatballs is a big winner. I make a sesame chicken pasta that half of them love the pasta. Some of them are picking the chicken out to eat it. Some of them are picking the chicken out not to eat it. Like it's,
But it all
as
works.
of late, yes, it all works. It all works. So
That is, and I haven't had lunch yet, and so I'm sitting here and I'm like, yes, I want all the recipes. I'm about to go on Nap Time Kitchen, figure it out, girl. I love it. You know, and I love these tips that you're sharing with moms or maybe newly married women or just women in general, because a lot of times it can feel so overwhelming of like, where do I even start? What was one of the biggest deconstruction tips that you had early on for yourself that you'd love to share today?
like a tip from Nap Time Kitchen
Yes.
specifically. Well, I think this isn't, I have like two. One is kind of a mindset, and that is if you're going to the internet to find a solution to something, it is very easy to get overwhelmed. So if you, I would say like pick one person that you're kind of going to be like, you know what, I'm just going to look at for recipes from this person, or I'm trying to figure out like feeding my baby. You know what, I like this account. I'm going to like really look at what she has to say versus like 20 people, because I think that's where the overwhelm comes in so quickly of like, oh, like now I feel paralyzed because I have so much information. And so just simplifying that for yourself, I think can be really helpful, especially in motherhood, especially online. It's a very overwhelming place to be.
Yes.
And then personally, I this is like a very old school Nap Time Kitchen, but I believe that your freezer is like your best resource in the kitchen. And so even I'm about to enter a busy season with this book. So on Saturday, it was like raining all day. And I was like, you know what? It is not soup season, but I have this whole day. I'm going to make a really good soup, and I'm going to freeze it in 1 cup portions. And then this fall, when I'm really busy, I'm going to have this delicious soup for lunch, like multiple days, because I've done the work now. And so I feel like a lot in the kitchen, there's so much you can get out of your food if you know how to freeze it. Like you can double casseroles, freeze one. You know, there's so many things that I do, and I just am trying to work smarter, not harder by using my freezer.
Yes.
So that's where a lot of like early on, especially a lot of my tips came from, like how to just get the most bang for your buck out of making something.
Yes, time wise, because, and I've been trying to, put more of those things into practice, even when I don't really want to in that day. But I think, what can I do today that future me will be like, thank you so much. That was so helpful. If you're already going to be making the spaghetti and meatballs, maybe just make a little bit extra. And how you said, freeze them in those portions. I absolutely love that. And I love too that you're talking about the reality of social media. It can be so helpful and so powerful and bring things to light that we've never even thought about, be such a fabulous tool, but also it can be such a source of anxiety and overwhelm. And honestly, just something that takes us away from the reality. You talk about Instagram versus reality, and just how there's such a interesting thing that happens to women because we get into this comparison trap and it starts to take away our joy. How did you see that in your own life, or maybe in some of the women that have confided in you on your platform?
Yeah. Well, I think it's funny because actually that first question you asked about like the close friendships that I have, I kind of think of it as like those relationships are so fully formed that if one of my friends were to say like my husband Sam brought me home flowers today, we also know the times that it has been hard with Sam, and we know like that every day isn't roses. So it's kind of like, because I have this fully formed picture, I can really celebrate highs, and I can also be with somebody in lows. And online is such a, it's almost like a 2D, like a looking at a book, and you're not getting the full image. And so I think that when you see things online, you can make so many assumptions about a person just based off of this quick image. So again, if we take that analogy, somebody's like, "Oh, look at these flowers my husband sent." And you're like, "Their husband's incredible. Wow, their husband gives them flowers." You know what? I don't remember the last time that Nate's done that. I bet he doesn't love me like this person's husband loves them. Or again, you walk into someone, if you know someone and you walk into their house, you see clothes on the floor, you see toys, but on Instagram, you might see like this small little corner that is clear of clutter.
Yeah, yeah.
Probably because they've cleared it for a photo purposes. But behind it, all the rest might not be that clutter free. But you see that really small picture and you're like, this is it. Their house is beautiful. Every inch of their house is beautiful. They live a cleaner, more put together life than me. I can't get my life together. I want to burn my house down. This is awful. Why can't I get my life together from this like tiny little frame? So I think that is the issue, is that it's not as hard as anybody could try, even myself, as hard as I could try to give you a fully authentic picture of who I am. You're just not in my house with me. It just can't be, 100% accurate.
Yeah. Yeah. I absolutely love it, because I was telling Kate, you guys, that I was cackling at one of these chapters, and I have to pull it open, because we've all thought, it doesn't matter how much you love your husband, girl. We've all been like, why doesn't he XYZ? And maybe they're thinking the same about us. I laugh so hard. Dating shows like The Bachelor and The Love is Blind, are really, they put this huge emphasis on romance and mystery. And Kate wrote, "Gosh, I wish my husband would take me to a private beachfront dinner in Cancun. He is such a dud." How many times, ladies, have we thought that? But also, that is not real life, Like we have this idea and this expectation of romance, or this expectation that's set by social media or the culture that's around us, which is false, right? A false reality, a snippet of what we're seeing, these snippets of these shows that they're compiling together to make it so desirable for the viewers and for the readers. But Kate, I love it because you talk about like real life romance. What does that look like for you and your husband, and how could we maybe apply that to our lives in our marriages?
Yeah. I think especially in this season of life, like we have seen so much romance come out of servanthood. Like Nate didn't feel well yesterday, like really got sick. And it was just kind of like, okay, he does not feel well, which is very rare for Nate. So I was like, instead of resenting him, I'm going to go into the bedroom. I'm going to close all the blinds. I'm going to turn on the exhaust fan in the bathroom so that it's like a white noise machine. And I'm going to shut the door, and I'm just going to close him off. And I'm going to assume all parental responsibilities for the evening. And it's like that act is love. Like it's not. And it's so funny you say this, because we're actually supposed to go on a date tonight, and he's just not 100%. Yeah. Like he's just not. And I was like, you know what? Why don't we not? Yeah. And I was like, don't get me wrong, I'm still going to have the babysitter come.
Love that.
You're going to stay in the bedroom and just watch a show and fall asleep. And I'm just going to see if any of my friends in the neighborhood want to go to dinner. Like, you're not feeling good. Why don't you just go rest? Like, we don't have to force this. And it's like, that is in itself, you're right. We're not going to dinner. We're not going to hold hands, but that in itself is like just a different form of love. Yeah. And so I think we have really, and it's so much more attractive. You're like, when you are serving each other, it's amazing how, like, I know they say like, love starts in the kitchen, but it's like when they do things that just feel like, wow, that was so kind. That was so helpful. You're seeing a need that I have and seeking to fill it. I think that's where we have found so much romance lately. It's like, you're just for me. Yes. You are for like my health and I am for your health. And we're just like trying to help each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that has been romantic.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, because it takes some of that pressure off, right? Because surely in his head, he's like, oh, we have a date tonight. And easily in a woman's head, it's like, oh, we have a date tonight. Oh, the kids, like all the things. Like, and then it starts to build up and you're trying to meet the other person's expectations, right? But you mentioned, you were like, I made the choice to, you know, turn on the fan, to do the blinds, all the things. Has it always been easy or your first instinct to make that choice?
Probably, I think early on, especially with our first child, there was so much scorekeeping. It was like, I cannot believe I'm doing bath time. I did bath time last night. I cannot believe it. I think that when we had more children and we were just equally drowning, it was kind of like we were both like, oh, okay, I'm drowning over here, but you look like you're drowning too. So I guess, and I remember when we had toddlers and a newborn, and I was taking care of the newborn, but he had the toddlers. And I was like, I think I'm like in bed watching TV because, you know, the newborn's like sleeping a lot. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it would bite me in the butt in the middle of the night. But I remember being like, yeah, you got your own hands full over there. And so the kids have humbled us a lot in just the scorekeeping and the capacity and what romance looks like.
Yes, it is so easy to start the scorekeeping. Even when we're like, I don't do that. Subconsciously, you know, there's like this, you have to have this kind of justice, you know? But I love you talk about a presumption of innocence in the book. Could you share a little bit about that with us?
Yes. Basically, I make this analogy that in the court system, you are presumed innocent until proven guilty. So there has to be evidence brought against you that proves that you are guilty. That's how our court system works. And in my marriage, I would so easily just like declare him guilty. So an example would be like he's gonna miss dinner because he's working. And if I look at the evidence of our life, Nate rushes home from work as quickly as he can most days. He is like, I think I can get out by 5. And he wakes up and helps with the kids in the morning. And on the weekends, he wants to be home. He wants to be with our family. So the evidence would show that if he is missing dinner, it is because he has something at work and he is not happy about it. But I would just be like, he is missing it on purpose. He's trying to get out of bedtime. I bet he doesn't even care. He doesn't even like us. But it's like, there's no evidence to support that claim. If it were to be like, okay, Kate, go back through the evidence. All of the evidence would not support that. And so, but we quickly, I quickly like will just throw down that gavel of like, you're guilty.
Yes.
But there's not good evidence to support it.
Yes, yes. And I don't know about you, but I always have a full statement ready when he gets home. I'm like, oh, welcome to the court.
Yes.
You're guilty and let me tell you your sentencing, you know?
Yes.
Yes, jury, everybody, there's nobody there. You know, it's just, it's so funny how our feelings and our insecurities deep down, they just start roaring. And it's so hard to kind of quiet that noise. But I love how, you know, you're just sharing, like, give them the kind of love that we would want for ourselves, you know, because in those moments, let's say they are actually guilty, you know, then there's grace for that. But the amount of times I've realized recently, the amount of times I stress about something, 99% of the time, it does not even happen. And I've just wasted all of this time and all of this energy, you know?
I know.
But I love, like, you've talked about your friends, and there's nothing better, I feel like, than being able to talk with girlfriends who truly know you and know your spouse. So whenever you're sharing about those hard things, you know they're not just sitting there thinking like, oh, Nate is awful, or my husband Austin is awful. You know, they know the kind of character and the kind of person that they are. And in general, they are rooting for you as a team, like your marriage as a team, right? Closest friends in closest circles can be so powerful to have that kind of genuine connection with, to root you on. But maybe there are some people who don't have that. Maybe there's some people today that are saying like, I just wish that I had girlfriends, or I just wish I had closer girlfriends, or that intimate circle. How do we go from creating those intimate relationships from scratch?
Oh, it is hard. I think especially in adulthood, it can feel really, really hard. And my best advice is just to allow, like, well, one, I think you can have different types of friends. I don't think that like if you have most of my close friends, the ones I'm talking about from college, they don't live here. I have very close friends that live near me too. And so those are just two different kinds of groups. So I think if you have somebody, if you're having a deep struggle and you don't have someone like in proximity to you, then I would ask you, like, do you have someone you could call? Like, not every friend has to fill every single pocket, I would
Yeah.
say. And that's not to say I don't have close friends geographically, but I'm just saying if you have somebody that's really close to you and you're going through something and it's a phone call, then I would say like make the phone call. But the other thing I would say is it's risky. And I just think that with the right people, when you bring something vulnerable to the table, they will receive it and they can respond in vulnerability. And it doesn't always happen. You might throw something out there and they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry about that." And like the door closes and you're like, "Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Retreat.
This is not going to be that relationship." I've had that happen. And but I think you just kind of have to try. And you have to put it out there and someone might be like, "Oh my gosh, tell me more about that. You know what? This is something hard going on." And then you just kind of be like, okay, we're kind of starting this process of seeing like a likeness in each other. And it is scary. I think that there's a ton of insecurity that comes in adult friendship that I notice my children don't have. I think it's
Yeah.
a self-awareness of like, if my son John Robert wants to hang out with his best friend every day, they have wild abandon of like, "I'll see you tomorrow. Will we see each other tomorrow? Should we sleep over? Can I come over for breakfast?" And I'm
I
like, "Oh, if
love
I did
that.
that with a friend, I would be so embarrassed. How needy. I don't want to appear like, wait, I don't want to, I can't ask you to hang out 2 days in a row, right? That's
Yes.
like, I can't do that." But kids don't do that. But sometimes I meet someone, I'm like, "I kind of want to hang out with you every day,
Every
but I
day.
can't say that because
Yes.
that would be
You're going to
embarrassing."
think I'm crazy, which I am, but like, let's not get there yet.
Yeah. But I think that I had a conversation on friendship with Sean Niequist recently, and she just was like, "I think extending the invitation, like just extend the invitation. All the worst they're gonna do is tell you no. But I think if you want it, like be willing to start it. It's like, you know, send the text.
Put
You might
yourself
get
out
passed
there.
over a few times, but
Yeah.
just kind of try and go for it in different ways."
Yeah, yeah. I think that's really good. And it's something that I'm in that season of my life right now. There's so much transition, and like some of my friends have kids, some of my friends are not married, some of my friends are like
Yeah.
on their, and so there's just a mishcambral of everybody. And so I've been praying like, "Lord, I just pray for like some more friends, you know?" And it is hard to put yourself out there. And I love how
Yeah.
you talk about as an adult, it is a little different, you know, than
Yeah.
just being able to be free as a kid. But you know, as an adult too, it's really hard, I think, to focus on contentment because it is
Yeah.
easy to compare. It's easy to look at my different friends and different levels of life and be like, "Okay, like I'm not there yet. Should I
Yeah.
be there?" You know, you write this book about "I just wish" statements. What are some of those statements that were hardest for you personally, maybe to just talk about, but even to write about?
Yes. Friendship was a hard chapter to write about. It just felt like there's a lot here. There's a lot to unpack and I want to do it justice.
Yeah.
So that one was like difficult from a just, man, how do I get this down on paper? How do I get this like complex feeling into this chapter? And then I would say money felt like a really big topic of like, gosh, I'm coming at this from a really specific, all I have is my own experience. You know, I don't have the experience of someone who has lived truly paycheck to paycheck, who's like, "Oh yeah, you tell me it won't make me more content. Well, I can't pay my
Yeah.
bills right now."
Yeah.
You know, again, just like really trying to do justice to the topic, but knowing there's going to be a lot of readers coming at it from different standpoints.
Yeah.
Looked better was hard because it's just a vain topic. It's like, "Hey guys, I wish I looked better. Let me tell you about it." Like,
Yeah.
no one wants to admit it.
Right.
You're like,
but
okay,
we
but
all think it. We
you
all
know?
think it. And then and sometimes it's like you share something with somebody and they're like, "Oh, I never noticed that about you until now." And it's like, great. I just planted this in their head, you know?
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. So those were control is just another big one, I think, of especially like from a spiritual standpoint of like control, what I believe about it, and then also just like the complexities of what I believe about, like, oh, like just I say in the book that this is really less like a memoir and more meant to feel like a working journal, because I am kind of just working these things out in real time on paper. And
Yeah.
so the book is not, well, pun intended, the book is not closed for me on like control or body image or disappointment. Like there are just things I'm still like actively working through.
Yeah.
But the book is like, this is where I am. These are some things that are helping me. These are practical things that I'm thinking about and doing as I work through these things.
Yeah. And I appreciate that so much because it's so realistic. We can say all the time as women or as humans, oh, here's how to fix it and it's over. But no, life is so complex, and especially all these topics are very complex and they're ever changing. But I'm so grateful that the Lord is not, and that we can rely on him in those moments, but also that there's people like you who's willing to be vulnerable and brave and courageous and start those conversations. So for other people who are not feeling as brave can step into those places of comfort and being seen, known, loved, and heard. As we close, Kate, I just want to say thank you so much for being with us today. Truly, I've had so much fun. Is there anything that you just want to leave a woman listening with today? Maybe something about contentment, maybe a woman who's wishing she had a bigger kitchen, any of the things.
I would say I would really fight to know that any of the things that you're feeling, I can like put my hand up and say, as someone who is online and receives tons of messages a day, you are not alone in the thing that, like, in your feelings that feel the most embarrassing or darkest, or like, I bet nobody else feels this way, that there are people everywhere. And that, like, I just feel like God wants you to know that these are common struggles that should not leave you feeling shame. And that if you can talk about them, so much of the power can be released from them, especially when somebody across the table says, golly, me too. And it's just like the power just diminishes out of these things.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Thank you so much, Kate. This was so much fun. I feel like I just want to sit and talk to you for forever. I'm like, let's go over all the chapters, all the things. I know it flew by. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're out of time. But you guys, you can connect with Kate on her website, naptimekitchen.com. You can get some recipes, connect with her, find her book, I Just Wish I Had a Bigger Kitchen. You guys, thank you so much for listening today on Life Today Live. We love you. I just pray for freedom over your lives, that you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will see you next time.
Come and let him that is athirst come. They will find no drought in God's ever flowing and abundant springs of